Hi everyone, it's Bart Olszewski. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you John Colonna, my friend, my trusted attorney, someone that I recommend to all my real estate clients. Thank you for having us, John.
Well, thank you for having me as well.
It's our pleasure. So John, how long have you been in this location here in Middle Village? And how long have you been practicing law?
I've been in this particular location for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And I've been practicing law for over 25 years now. Yeah.
Okay. And do you specialize in real estate law? What do you do? What are your specialties, I should say?
Well, actually, attorneys really in New York State, at least, not really allowed to say that they specialize in any particular field. We can't use the word specialize, but I like to use the word concentrate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That being said, I would say about 80% of my practice is dedicated to real estate. So I do consider that a certain concentration.
Okay, that's great. So John, I obviously deal with many buyers and sellers who at one stage of the real estate transaction come into a moment where they need real estate attorneys' help. And I always recommend that make sure you speak to a real estate attorney, and of course I point them to you. But some of them don't seem to understand how important it is to have someone who has the knowledge of real estate law help them through the transaction. What could you say to that? Why is it important to have someone like you?
Well, you know, like anything in life, you always want somebody who's got the experience, somebody who has done this before. Also, it's good to do different things. You know, I do things besides real estate, but most of the other things that I do sort of complement my real estate practice. For example, sometimes we run into situations where somebody has a tenant, and that tenant needs to be evicted, and that's something that I do. So it's they sort of complement each other. Or sometimes we have a situation where an estate needs to be probated, letters testamentary need to be issued, things of that nature. And so it's always good to have somebody with some experience, as I do, in that particular field. What you want to try to avoid, I think, is an attorney that just is completely outside that realm. You know, an attorney that's in court constantly litigating matters, that's just not going to be accessible for you. You want somebody that's going to be able to call you back quickly, because, you know, for most people this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, maybe a twice-in-a-lifetime thing, and you're nervous and you're concerned and you have questions, and you want to be able to call your attorney on his or her cell phone. I always give my clients their cell phone number. Maybe text if that's the way you prefer to communicate, email, multiple ways to communicate with your attorney. And you know, you just don't get that with somebody that doesn't concentrate in real estate. You know, they're just too focused on too many different things.
And having a good assistant like Agnes is also helpful, isn't
Absolutely, it? Absolutely. I've got probably the best assistant anybody could ever hope for. Yeah, Agnes is always there for you if I'm not. You can call upon either one of us. She's really knowledgeable in the area of real estate, can answer just about any questions you have, but if you don't feel comfortable with the answer that you're getting from her, I'm always there. And you know, it's just fortunate to have somebody that understands, like I do, the importance of speed when it comes to these things, accuracy, and accessibility.
Okay, perfect. So John, seller or buyer, maybe you could touch on both, in the process, when they're coming to meet you for the first time, what sort of things should they bring? What should they expect? This would be when they're signing the contract initially.
Okay, so as far as, well, one of the things I like to stress is whether you're buying or selling, I always think it's a good idea to get in contact with your attorney earlier on in the stage than most people do. Many people's first step will be to contact a real estate agent, or maybe if they're buying, you know, they're going to a bank, and those are all important things. But one thing that I think people do is shortchange themselves, because when they hire an attorney, whether it's me or somebody else, they're going to pay the same price whether they come to me at the very early stages or later on. And why not, you know, make the most of your money by coming to me a little early. But that being said, also in terms of answering your original question, what to bring with you, you know, if you're a seller, oftentimes, you know, if you've got an old survey of the property, that's the drawing. That's something that could be helpful. If you've got a mortgage that needs to be paid off as part of that process of the sale, then we usually like a statement, a recent statement. Many people feel a need to bring their deed to their attorney, and in New York City we have this great system. It's called ACRIS. It's an acronym. The City of New York has put together, and we can usually access online on the internet your deed, so you don't really need to bring that unless it's outside of the 5 boroughs of the city. That's for sellers' purchases. Just information, you know. What is the amount of your mortgage? Who's going to be signing a contract, of course, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So that's the initial stage. Then obviously you're involved through the process. Usually if someone is purchasing on the buyer's side or on the seller, it's really the same. But if there's a mortgage involved, it's going to take probably 2 months from the time that they met with you originally to sign the contract to the time they're meeting again at closing. Is there anything that you do in between? And then maybe explain the closing a little bit as well, if you could.
Sure. So, the process starts, as you said, usually with a contract. If we are the sellers, we will be drafting that contract for you. If we are the purchasers, we will be reviewing that contract for you. After that, title comes into play. You always want to make sure that you're getting good, clean title, that there are no liens, no judgments, no violations.
If you're on the buying side.
Well, that's right. And as far as the seller is concerned, too, it's my job as the seller's attorney to clear title. Sometimes, and this happens quite often, old mortgages come up even from prior purchases, even when you weren't involved, that things just sort of got missed. We are always working behind the scenes to get what are called satisfactions of mortgages for old mortgages that might exist, clearing up little questions of title through what are called affidavits of heirship and other types of affidavits that title companies may require of us. So we are always working behind the scenes to clear up title so that everything runs smoothly on the day of your closing.
Mm-hmm. And then closing itself, it takes about 2 hours.
That's
and
right.
Obviously you're there for all closings.
Yep, we are always there. We don't send any other representatives. We are the same person that you met when you signed the contract that will be there on that day of the closing to walk you through that process step by step. So it's a very simple and as less stressful as possible, because we know this can be a stressful process, particularly for buyers, first-time buyers. It can be a little bit of a scary process, but that's our job, is to make it less stressful. And for sellers too, particularly when they're selling and buying, that can be a very stressful process when you're, say, moving up or downsizing. You're moving into that bigger house or trying to downsize, and that whole process of am I going to have a place to live in between these two processes? It can be extremely stressful, and we try to minimize that for you.
But what's the most important thing you do at a closing?
What's the most important thing?
This is actually, I'm setting up for a joke.
I don't know. That's right. At the very end, I have to take your picture.
That's right. That's
with your clients.
That's the real reason you show up. You're the photographer, and I definitely appreciate that. So that's great. So obviously you're there through the whole transaction. I don't know if you want to touch on fees. I know you're very reasonable. Anything you'd like to add about your?
Yes, I like to say that any attorney that you hired for a real estate transaction really should quote you a fee up front. There should be no hidden charges. You should know from the very beginning what that fee is going to be, and you shouldn't be hit with any surprises at the end. And when I quote a fee, it's a flat fee. And again, there are no surprises. It is the same that I quoted you from the beginning as it is at the end.
Perfect. Sounds good. So what's the best way to contact you if the viewers are interested in any help? Because like you said, you also do trust and tenant law, right? So there are lots of reasons to contact you. What's the best way to do that?
I like to say there isn't any one good way, and I like to leave you as many options as you feel comfortable with. You can call our telephone number at our office here. It's 718-894-4600. You can call me on my cell, which is 516-302-6219. You can email me or Agnes. We keep it simple. My email address is John, John, at Colonna-law.com. That's Colonna. Or Agnes, which is Agnes, same email address, Colonna-law.com. You could just walk in. We have a lot of people that just like to walk into the office. I find a lot of
You're
people.
very conveniently located.
Thank you. We're right on Metropolitan Avenue, 73-15 Metropolitan Avenue, Middle Village. It's a storefront. We don't hide in the back. We are always here. There are no appointments necessary. You can walk in anytime, Monday through Friday. And we're also available on the weekends if you want to give us a call.
Perfect. So, John, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Wszystko ma inny wymiar.